you get us started here? Or if Steve's not ready, how about Jardy? Adam, you ready?
Sure thing.
All right,
Feels
go
good.
for it. Yep.
Like we're back in the COVID era. Jake, thanks for doing this and working with us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, sorry for the adjustment. We had to make some audibles ourselves today, so appreciate you guys um, hanging with us here for the change of time.
For sure. Well, first question, how did Bruce come out of the game health wise?
Good, good. He was able to practice today, so that was really encouraging. Obviously,
Recording in
anytime
progress.
he's slow to.
All right, sorry about that.
Any anytime he's slow to get off the court is certainly concerning, but he's one of the toughest guys you'll ever come around. So he was feeling good, and we were able to get him on the court today.
And the game that or the way that game unfolded for Devin just seemed like he was never really able to assert himself, and he's kind of played himself into one of those guys that you feel like if he's only got 4 and 2 at halftime, he's going to get to his averages by the end of the game, and he just never was able to get on track. Was there something that was off for him in that game? Was there something Michigan was taking away that made it difficult for him? But what was the challenge trying to get Devin going in that game?
I think it was obvious he was an important part of the game plan defensively for them, and a couple times we tried to draw up some action for him, and he's got to continue to be aggressive and find some spots. He and I talked after the game. There's some things that hopefully we can do to help him, but he's got to be aggressive. And I thought one of the areas that he wasn't aggressive enough was on the glass. So he'll respond because that's what good players do, and he's a really good player, so he'll respond. There's no question about it.
I don't see Steve anymore. Riley or Blake, one of you?
Yeah, I can go.
All
Thanks.
right. Yep.
Season low of 9 free throw attempts on Friday. I know Michigan leads the conference in blocks, but do you think there were times where players could have been a little bit more aggressive towards the basket? And if so, is that a focal point for tomorrow's game?
Yeah, I talked about the free throw discrepancy after the game. I think, listen, I felt like we earned the right to shoot a few more. Not necessarily saying it had to be even, but there were some opportunities there where I thought we deserved to get to the line. I liked our aggressiveness, certainly the way they defend, and their ability to protect the rim is real. But it was a physical game, really at the top of the court, underneath the rim. It was physical all over. And I thought we should have got a few more. And we got to continue. There was a couple times we let their big guys roam. We had some things in play that we wanted to do to limit that. To where they couldn't be as effective at the rim, but they did a really good job with it. I thought our aggressiveness was good. Thought we got good threes. Yes, we want to get to the free throw line more. Thought we should have. And, it's certainly part of who we are offensively with what we've been able to do getting to the free throw line. So we got to continue to be aggressive.
All right, we'll go to Steve Hellwagon with his hand up.
Yeah, Coach. Penn State played Michigan pretty tough here a week or two ago, and also second half played even with Wisconsin. The first half, I would assume you didn't even show them the first half, but I don't know what's your thought, I guess, about Penn State coming in and the idea that it's going to be really difficult for people to get there tomorrow to come to the game as well.
Yeah, listen, I think they've played some really impressive stretches of basketball, and I'm sure they're working to do that for a complete game, and they've done it. They did it against the team up north. They did a great job in that game. Thought the game plan was good. Thought they executed it well. Thought guys had some high level shot making. They got some really good perimeter players who are capable of putting up big numbers. So this is, like every Big Ten game, it is anybody's game, and you got to prepare really well. You got to bring your best stuff, and that's been our focus. Great deal of respect for Coach Rhodes and the program he runs, and they're going to come in here, playing, have gotten ready to play some of their best basketball, and that's what we're anticipating. We got to do the same thing, and we got to try to take them out of some of the stuff they do, and we got to be aggressive on both sides of the ball. We're excited about this game tomorrow. Hopefully, these roads clear up and we can get some people in here. Hopefully, they open this thing up for some more students to come, and we can try and get a little bit of noise in there.
Amari has kind of struggled here the last couple games, and obviously it was a tough matchup going against larger people against Michigan. Just what do you see with him, and how do you kind of get that energy from him and that contribution, I guess.
Well, I thought he did some really good things in the second half. Two big time charges. One was a scouting report charge too that was high level for a freshman to step up and be able to make that. So I think Steve, like, he's playing at the highest level as a freshman. There's a lot that comes with that. We've asked him to do a lot. And I think he just has to continue to stay the course, work really hard in practice. Hey, he had one of his best practices he's had here in a few weeks today, which was great to see. So he handles, maybe a game or two like he's had, he handles it with great maturity and his approach has been really consistent. So he'll bounce back. Got real confidence in that.
It's I just one more thing. It's really early in Puff Johnson's time with your program. Just he got into the game a couple times there the other day, and I'm sure you guys are teaching and trying to learn him up on everything you guys do. But I guess you're probably hoping to get from point A to point B and have him be a fully functioning member of your team as quickly as possible. But what is realistic? I guess probably a little bit more with each passing game. It would seem like.
Yeah, well, seems Steve like you've really thought about that and got some good some good thoughts here, man. Listen, I think he's doing everything he can to speed it up. We got to certainly, we're trying to do it with some understanding of where he is and realistic expectations. I think is important. We talked about having very limited minutes in last game, and we're trying to do things like kind of play one position and things like that. But the reality is, like, regardless of who's on the court, we got to win those possessions. Like that's our focus. So making sure certainly that there's some simplicity to when he's on the court, but giving him a runway to get some legs under him in a manner that's helping us win the game. That's the focus right now. There's a balance there, but we can't do it at expense of losing possessions or segments. His segments, I thought there really wasn't anything he did or didn't do that caused those segments maybe to not be positive. There were some other factors there. That's the tricky part with kind of when you look at plus minus and stuff. So he plays really hard. He communicates well. I mean, I wish you guys could see him practice. His communication and his ability to identify coverages and things defensively has been really impressive already. So we'll continue to progress him with the guidance of our sports science team and medical team and things. We'll see kind of what that looks like next game, but there's a lot of factors there that are going into it, certainly.
Thank you.
Yep.
Now we'll go to Blake Biscardi. Blake.
Coach, your team played really well against Michigan for most of the game, just falling short in the last couple of minutes. What are you seeing from your team that's been different from a year ago? And then what do you still need to do to be able to close those games and finish really well?
Yeah, well, listen, I think we our ability to execute the game plan, execute end of game is much better than we were last year. I think when we went into kind of building this roster, getting a kind of total cumulative higher basketball IQ was important. Was something that we focused on. I think our skill level is really high, and we got when you have two really dynamic guards, that helps too. Um, I think we've shown an ability to win games on the road, which is important. There's a toughness required for that. So, yeah, we talked about, like, we're building something here, and we've taken some steps forward. Certainly, still fighting to continue to push that and raise our level. And I think we've seen in the last couple weeks us play at a higher level with more stretches. We're going to need to continue. Like, it's not enough. We got to keep doing it more and more and more. And we're built to grow as the season continues while also getting results. I think that's the important thing, right? Like, we got to continue to grow and get better, but we got to get results. We know that. We're right in the thick of the Big Ten, and I like what our team is showing. But we got to continue to show it, and Lord willing, we stay healthy. I think that's an important part of the equation, certainly. And we've had some guys step out with Brandon being out, so I think our program's ability to handle adversity and those things I talked about earlier are all improvements, certainly.
And coach, is there a player or maybe a group of players you're looking to step up in addition to Bruce to make a good run in that final stretch of the season? As we're gonna have start with Penn State tomorrow and then work through February and then into March to start playing your best basketball by then.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's been some areas where we know we need to improve our bench, certainly, right? I think Puff will help that as he continues to get his opportunities. I think we're seeing some better bench play. Some guys are being more aggressive, which is what we've needed, which is really encouraging. You look in the last 3, 4 games. Gabe's had a really good game. Collins had a really good game. Tayson's, when he's been out there, he's getting some shots up. So I think once those start falling, that'll open up some things for him. So and Yvonne's giving us some really good minutes with Brandon being out. So I think we're trending in a positive direction in that regard. And then those core group of other guys got to continue to play at a high level and continue to play at a high level together. I think that's what we're starting to see more and more of. It's not one and two or one guy. It's now 2 or 3 guys, 3 or 4 guys, and that's what we're going to need. That's what we're going to need. I think we're seeing our chemistry continue to get better right in front of our eyes. And, like I said, we got to keep pushing to raise our level.
All right, we'll finish up with Adam. Adam, go ahead.
Jake, two off the court things. First off, with Puff, I think he has another hearing on the 30th to formalize things going forward. Is there any concern about that on your guys' end? And is there any worry that if that were to get overturned on the 30th, like that could retroactively impact games being eligible for you or anything like that? Has any of that filtered into your thought process or conversations you've been having about all this?
Adam, I'm I'm not super worried about it, to,
Okay.
to be honest with you. I think when these TROs been handed down and you look at those, right, they're not really getting flipped.
Hmm.
It's pretty rare. And I'm also, everything we've done has been in communication with our administration and, and certainly leaning on them as well. I get the uncertainty that exists right now in college basketball. I think his his situation is so different than some of these other situations we're seeing. Like this is a completely different than a guy who's played professionally and stuff, right? So this is a different kind of pathway, and that's why we felt good about it and feel good about it, and I don't anticipate there being any kind of major changes with how we're progressing.
Have you gotten negative feedback from anybody about this? I mean, it's been obviously, like you said, it's different than like Charles Bediako and some of the other things that are going on. But like, have you gotten any negative pushback from whether it's other coaches or people in the sport on adding Puff?
No,
Okay.
no, no one's reached out to me directly. I don't think there's been. Again, I think it's so different.
Mm.
It's so different than some of the other situations we're seeing across the country, whether it's G League or former draft picks or whatever. And, listen, my stance on this stuff is until, right, there's clear cut, until clarity exists at the highest level. I mean, I guess if there's a window to make something happen, I don't blame teams for doing that. I would love to see that clarity happen sooner rather than later, right? I mean, I think that's what we all want. Seems like things are trending in a positive direction to have that. But until then, I'm not gonna like look at what someone else is doing and say, man, if there's a window for them to do something to make their team better, most everybody's gonna try to do that. For us, our situation is completely different. Like this is something that's been in the works for a while. And we as Ohio State and as our program, we supported Puff, but we did it, through the proper channels of the NCAA because we're an NCAA member institution, So I think ours is so different than some of these other ones, but man, I got it. I'm worried about Penn State right now. And I could honestly, what other programs are doing, I just doesn't really mean anything to me. I want clarity. I think
Mhm.
we all want clarity, and we have an opportunity to do that, you know, here really soon. And I think there's some brilliant, experienced people, in college basketball who can help with that. And I think in inviting some of the younger guys as well and coming together and coming up with this clarity of what it needs to look like, NIL, portal, like who's eligible, all of this stuff, right? Maybe it's probably headed towards a government model, or at least government being involved, which if that's what needs to happen for clarity to exist, then great. But that's all I want, Adam, is just
Mhm.
just clarity.
Yeah.
And people can keep doing what they're doing in their programs. We're focused on ours. And right now, all I'm consumed with is, our guys being safe in this weather and getting ready for Penn State.
And then Yaxel after the game, it was the Fox put out the clip. It's been on social media, but reacting to Colin's comments after the Minnesota game. I don't know, you asked about that briefly after the Minnesota game and said you kind of understood what he was getting at. But like, have you had any conversations with Colin just about that experience? And I don't know, is that something that, like you said, you're focused on Penn State and you got all these other things going on, but like, has any of that filtered into like either conversations with Colin or just your day to day now as you do move forward here?
I didn't hear what he said after the game, Adam, but I'm assuming he said something about what Colin said.
Yeah, yeah. He said he called out Colin specifically, like Mr. Colin White. This was, I heard what you said, something to that effect. I can find you the full quote somewhere, but
Listen, you guys got to understand, but like I love this rivalry.
mhm,
Like I love it, and I don't, little back and forth, like awesome. I think right. You certainly, well, you don't want to give them bulletin board material, whatever. Like I understand that. I understand that sentiment, but I want our guys to I want this game to mean more to our team and in our program, like it does, to other sports on our campus, and it does. And would I have said the same thing Colin said? I don't know, maybe worded it a little different, but I think, his this idea of like, hey, we like this is a big time game and we want to go up there and get a win. Like, yeah, absolutely, and if Yaxel wants to comment on what he said, he earned the right to do that, right? So
mhm.
I like it. It's a big time game. I love the rivalry. Got a ton of respect. I think what makes rivalry so special is the respect that happens within them. Got a ton of respect for Dusty. Like I told you before, he and I go back to when we were assistants in the SEC, and um, so like it's great. I remember went right those games when you can throw out all the metrics out the window and you go in and you just got hard fought battles. Like that's what I grew up in the basketball arena, on the football field. So um, yeah, I mean, no, I haven't pulled Colin aside and said, hey, why'd you do that? I just like we turned the page. We talked about things we need to do better because we play him again. Things we need to do better in that game when we see him again. And we had to turn the page quickly to Penn State. We're in the middle of a really, a lot of games in a short amount of time again.
Yep.
So, but yeah, Yaxel, listen, he earned the right to comment on that. No doubt. Part of the game. I like that our guys understand that this game is different. I think that's important.
All right,
Thanks, Jim.
Coach. Yeah, we'll get you out of
Yep.
there on that. Safe travals back.
All right, guys, be safe
Thanks a
out there.
lot.
All right.
All right, coach. See you
Thanks.
tomorrow.
Thank you, coach.